Hello, welcome to week 51 of Project 52, where we have been producing one new track for each week of the past year. And now we just have 2 weeks left, which is crazy. So let's get right into making the 51st track of this year. Thanks for joining in. Alright, week 51, we are so close to the end of this challenge, but we still have 2 weeks left, so let's try to make 2 cool tracks to end the year with. As it's now the holiday season as well, and I'm planning to spend a bit more time with my family and friends, I will keep these last 2 videos a bit shorter and a bit simpler than the other videos in the past year. Let's just have a good time making these last 2 tracks and see what we can come up with, and it doesn't matter if the end result is a bit lame or bad. With that said, let's just jump straight into this week's video, and as always I will first play you the idea that I have made for this week, then I will just go through the elements that we have in it so far, so the individual sounds, and then let's continue producing and try to finish the track. So that's the plan as always, and well, as I said, the production will probably be a bit simpler, a bit more straightforward, but it's also a good practice for me because usually I tend to overproduce the tracks, which might make them worse at the end. So it's a good practice for me as well to try to keep things simple and just don't think about it and finish the track. Alright, so here is the idea for week 51. I hope you like it. So this end thing here is already kind of me thinking of what we are going to do in the following sections. So that's still kind of a work in progress. Well, if you think about it, everything in here is still a work in progress, but I just thought I'd mention that this section here and also this section too is still something that I'm kind of debating on what we're going to do with it. But that's the idea for the track, and let me just next show you the elements that I used to make it the way it is. First up in the drums group, which is the first group in my template, is the kick, as it pretty much always is, and this time it sounds like this. It's quite long actually, we have a long subtail, which is something that I wouldn't usually do, but I think for a slower paced track like this it works. Of course it then requires that you have to mix it well with the bass, but I think it's fine for now. Let me worry about the mixing later. Next up we have this percussion loop, which is like bongos or something. It sounds like this with a kick. Then we have this hi-hat sounding sample, which is for the start of every 2 bars, I think. And then we have another hi-hat, which is the main one that's playing in between every kick. Then lastly, we have a percussion sample that I added further to, and then just resampled it to make the reverb tail kind of end after one beat. So it sounds like this. And the drums all together sound like this. Okay, next up, let's go to the only bass that we have so far. It's just from Analog Lab, I think from Pigment, if I'm not mistaken. It indeed is. And it sounds like this. It's a nice clean bass, I think. Alright, so that's very simple. Then let's go into the main musical elements, and the first one is the main arpeggio. That's kind of the main musical idea in this whole thing. Also very little processing for that, just an EQ. And for that we have a layer, which now that I think about it, we should maybe group these two, which comes in for kind of the second half of the idea as it is so far. And it's just the most dull sounding phase plant preset that I made. And it sounds like this. I don't know about this sound, but I just wanted to add a layer which would add a bit more body to the bell sound, which is kind of light on its own. I don't know, this is just something that I added. And then we also have this further automation, which goes like this. So maybe I can show the automation to you. It looks like this and it sounds like this. All right, then let's go in here, which is kind of a background. I think it's like an electric piano or something, stage piano. I don't know what a Hammond Club one is. Maybe I should know. It sounds like an organ electric piano hybrid. Well, actually, now that I hear it, it sounds more like an organ, but it sounds like this. Then the last track is just these three chords that I'm still kind of debating whether or not I want to use them. But the sound is also from Omnisphere. It's called Pure Tape Tone, and it's also a clean sounding keyboard of some sort, and it sounds like this. And that's kind of there to switch the chords for a bit to maybe transition us into the next section or something. But as I said, this is already something that I was kind of working on before I started recording, so it's not in its kind of finished stage yet. But that's the last element, so let's just go back into production, and maybe as the first thing, let's try to figure out these chords that I just showed you. For this section, we could add like a bit more high frequency elements, and I was thinking like a ride or something to just add on top of the other drums. Just something subtle in the background. Also here, I think we could add just a faint like string element or something. Which key are we even writing in? G major, I think it was. Wait, my keyboard isn't even on. Okay, there we go. Delay thing like that, so dotted 8 and maybe something like this. Oh, and we also need to take away the try, of course, because it's a parallel setup. One more layer to the melody, because we need to start introducing quieter elements so that we are actually building up to something, you know? That's a cool sound. I think we need to just filter it a bit. That's nice, I think. Let's look for a shaker and then start thinking of the next section that we'll do. Shaker, shaker, shaker. Let's look from Splice. I don't think I have anything for this track. Ooh, that's a nice shaker. I don't like the white things. The shaker is super nice. I think we can just loop the first 2 beats. That's it. Then let's start thinking about the next section. Okay. add a snare to this section, I think. Wait, this section. Oh, that's a cool transition actually. Let's use that and add a new track for the snare. Maybe flatter. Okay, I'm not sure about this transition here. Maybe we get rid of it. Yeah, that's just cleaner. I was thinking that maybe we can add a like a phaser to this organ, because otherwise it's a bit too static for such a long time. Maybe even for the snare we can have some delay. Or instead of orbit, wait, I need to check if this mid-side EQ is necessary. I guess it is, okay. Yeah, so instead of orbit, maybe we can actually have further and do some like panning automation. So now that we have the automation, we can just go in here and just do something like this. Imagine like an ice cream truck coming to your neighborhood and all you hear is... I should maybe sell this to an ice cream company or something. Okay, maybe not. Frequency balance is kind of terrible. Wait, where is the shaker that we added? Is it still not completely... Oh my god. Okay, that explains a lot. That's cool. Okay, we've drifted quite far away from the original idea, or the original melody. I think like it's not a bad thing. But I just don't have the context of the original idea in my head anymore, so I'll just have to listen to the track once more. Transfer to that. Well, actually, do we have to go back here? Can we end on some other scale entirely. I'm actually thinking of a classic fade out outro where we just fade out the volume of the track, but I just need to figure out like to which scale or to which chord we're going to transfer it to from this part here. For a totally separate sound, and with this sound I think I'm just going to play some sort of chord maybe, or actually yeah, that's what we're going to play. And then let's just figure out this last sound here, and then I'll have to do the volume fade out, and that should be it. Let's just also do a quick reverse sweep into the melody so it doesn't come in too abruptly. Okay, actually I want to do one more kind of cool chord thingy at the end here, so let me do that quickly, and then I think that should be it for the production. And then for the last section, let's just add a shaker so that it kind of sounds like that the track is going to just like continue, but the listener is just fading out, you know. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let me listen to the track one more time and see if that's enough. I think that's enough, but just to make sure, and just like if I can find something that's like totally off, then we can just fix that real quick, and that should be it for the production part of week 51. I think I'm still going to add some more effects, but as I have done for the last couple weeks as well, I think I'm going to do those tomorrow before I do the mixing, because those are just like the final last bit of ear candy that I usually add. Again, the frequency balance is, well, in a nice way, it's weird, but I'll try to figure out if it's too weird or if I need to do something to it. But for now, I think it's fine. It's kind of weird that we don't come back to the intro melody, you know? But also, I guess it's fine. I guess that's it for the production of week 51 of Project 52. As I said, these last 2 weeks are going to be a bit simpler tracks like this, but still I think like the melodies and stuff in this track are pretty nice, and I think they work. Alright, thank you so much for spending yet another week of Project 52 with me. It really means a lot. If you liked the video, please press the like button, and if you would like to get notified about the next week's last video of this project, be sure to also be subscribed. And of course, next year I will be releasing a lot more videos regarding other things, mostly about my plugins. So that is all I think for this week's video. Here is now the mixed version of the track that we just worked on. I hope I'm able to fix the mix down. It's very muddy, and as I said, like the frequency balance is pretty weird at the moment, but let's see how it's going to turn out. Yeah, I hope to see you next week for the last week of this project, which I am very excited about. I really don't know what else to say. It has been a journey, and it's also cool that it's finally coming to an end because it has been a lot of work. So next week, the last video of Project 52. Join me then. Here is now week 51's track, mixed and mastered. I hope you like it. Bye bye.